So there really are two types of custody. One is called legal, one is called physical. The way to think about it simply is that legal custody is all around decision-making about things related to the kids, their medical care, their religious practices, and their education. So legal custody can be joint or sole. It's typically the starting point is that it will be joint. Sometimes one parent has what's called final decision making if that's the parent that's been most engaged in making those decisions up until now. The second kind of custody is physical custody. So that is just what it sounds like. Where are the kids? They're either going to be jointly in both homes. Sometimes even when they are jointly in both homes, they are primarily with one parent and then have a schedule, whether that's called a parenting schedule, access schedule with the other parent. Sometimes that plays out where one parent has been a stay-at-home parent and they're considered the physical primary. The other person who is the more working parent is the one with the schedule that gets worked around how that person's work schedule works. So legal and physical. And then what you want to think about is how has life looked up until now? That's likely how the custody arrangement will look also. The court and the negotiations are not typically creating brand new arrangements for the kids. The divorce is a new arrangement enough. So the intention is to keep them as much in how life has been, the positive aspects of that going forward with custody. Best interest of the children or child. You really want to just think from the child's perspective, what is going to most serve that child thriving after the divorce? Just like you, the parents, are going to be thriving after the divorce, the kids are going to be thriving after the divorce as well. So we're looking at everything from, who takes them to their health appointments, who's involved at the school, who knows all the teachers, and who keeps them involved in their social circles and makes sure that their social education and social life is thriving, that their mental health is okay. That their physical health is tended to, that they're doing age-appropriate activities. All those kinds of things get looked at to determine what the best interests of the child will be moving forward. Again, you're going to be looking at what's happened up until now, how the child's life has been going. And sometimes the best interests of the child have not been served up until the point of the divorce, so some things are going to want to alter in terms of what they're involved in. Custody orders can be changed if there's a change in circumstances or there's a change in the behavior of one of the parents, typically. So certain things that get looked at are, has the child kind of outgrown the agreement in terms of, you start out with a schedule for a 6-year-old who turns into a 16-year-old, and that 16-year-old now has a mind of his or her own, and the rigidity of a schedule may no longer work, for example. There are also kind of more upsetting or troubling examples where one parent has a breakdown of some kind, a relapse into addiction, for example, a health problem where something substantial has altered and the arrangements for the kids need to alter along with it. And typically the form that takes is a motion for modification of the custody order. Everything can be negotiated. Nothing has to be forced through the court system, but what you want to know is that if you can't come to an agreement with your former spouse or your current spouse, if that's the case, or even if you've never been married and you have a custody arrangement, the court is available for a modification. A lot of people ask if you can move once you've been divorced and you have kids. A lot of divorce settlement agreements include what's called a radius provision or a mileage provision that deals with this exact question. The court, if it's left to the court wants to keep parents as near each other as possible to make ease for the kids of going back and forth for visits. So while you can move, you're not, mandated to stay in your same home. Typically, there's some agreement around how far you're going to move. For example, you're not going to be able to put the other parent in the situation of having to drive 3 hours each way to see the kids. So if you have any questions about custody and how that will go for you entering into a custody order, or if you have one that you want or need to modify, you can go right ahead and call us at Hannon De Palma. We've dealt with every aspect of custody from the most agreeable to the most contentious, including things that involve the need for forensic analysis, the need for modification due to addiction problems of a parent, everything down to the most plain vanilla of the schedule's not working and we want, someone else to do the driving to and from sports. Call us. We're able to take care of all of it for you.